Thanks for having me, Lianne. It sure is a great time to think about making tax-smart choices when deciding on how to spend your refund. It seems like there's a lot of focus at the beginning of the year about making choices around RSPs and tax-free savings accounts on ways to save tax and to get a bit bigger refund. But in fact, I think it's a great time now when you're filing your taxes to actually have a look at going forward about what changes you'd like to make so that you're not in the same boat again next year.
Where would you suggest that parents start in terms of the research about how to properly spend their tax refund on their children?
So, Lianne, I think it is exactly what you talked about, which is deciding about what your priorities are. And once you decide on your priorities, then you can actually make a plan and great tax-smart decisions. I think if you are in the camp of having some high-interest debt, such as credit cards, that you'd want to look at using your refund to pay that down. It's a little bit like a penny saved is a penny earned, that my mother would always say. The second thing is then deciding around what's also very important to you. And Lianne, for parents, often, there is a question about paying down debt and other mortgage, loans and things like that. But there also is another angle, and that is about saving for a child's education. And in fact, the RESP might be a very good choice for parents at this time of year to be able to direct the tax refund to.
What are the top two things that parents need to know about RESPs that would help them make this decision?
Well, I think what's great is that RESPs actually have a tax advantage to them. You earn tax-free investment income on both your contribution and any government grants. Plus, the government will actually kick in about 20% for qualifying contributions through what's called the Canada Education Savings Grants. Sometimes it's even higher depending on what your family income looks like. And I think what's great about that is with a 20% boost, you're actually stretching your dollars that much further. The average refund for Canadians is $1,580 back in 2011, so that's the latest records that we have. A 20% Canada Education Savings Grant would then increase that by another $316, really stretching that refund that much farther, and addressing a key concern for lots of parents, which is around saving for a child's education.
I mean, there is just such an overwhelming amount of information in this area for parents to sort of pour through. Where is the best first place to start for them?
Well, I think there's lots of information on the internet about RESPs, and the government actually has quite a bit of information on their website as well, so sometimes it's good to go to the source. But there's lots of tips for parents that financial websites have as well. I'll be honest with you, there's lots of information out there, and sometimes you want to go and look at a credible source, so always be paying attention to who the author is, what their credentials are on those websites.
Now, in terms of other tips that you can offer, we talked about RESPs, but you also mentioned doing your research now so that it not only influences your decisions when your tax refund comes along, but perhaps influences your decisions for the next full year.
Yeah, exactly, Lianne. It's a terrific opportunity to take a few minutes now that could really pay off in the future for you. Because, Lianne, by the time you get your tax slips, there's nothing you can do except filling in the boxes of your tax return, exactly as the slip indicates. So it's all about changing where those decisions are made at the root or at the source. And, there's strategies around not even getting a tax refund in the first place. So can I give you an example, Lianne? If you make regular contributions to your RSP, say through a pre-authorized contribution plan or something like that, your cash flow may be improved if you ask your employer and submit Canada Revenue Agency form to your employer to reduce the amount of tax that's withheld from your paychecks. It's called T1213 or T1213. It's a request to reduce your tax deduction at source, and it's something that you could actually keep more of your monthly earnings rather than waiting until the spring of next year to get your tax refund.
That's interesting. What would you say is the most common mistake that parents make around how to spend, the tax refund efficiently for their children?
Lianne, honestly, It's the question of splurge or save. And it comes down to finally getting a little bit of a windfall in your hands and thinking that it's the time to splurge on something that you haven't been able to afford or something that you'd like to do for yourself, for your family. And while that could be very well intentioned, it is actually a great opportunity to actually use that cash flow to something that's going to be ultimately very important to what you want to achieve for your family.
Well, and I guess as well, in addition to that, it's also a great opportunity at this time of the year to teach your children, depending on what age they are, all about, budgeting, and teach them along the way so that they'll make informed choices at one point themselves as well.
No, I like that. And breaking it down into manageable portions that you can work into your lifestyle is also crucial. A lot of Canadians think that to invest for their future, they need to have lump sums available. But in fact, Lianne has the power of compounding on your side where you can put little amounts of cash aside as you go. That is actually very valuable. It may also smooth out some of the ups and downs in terms of the markets as well that could work to your advantage. That's called dollar cost averaging. And it's a great way to build a nest egg over time.
Cynthia, what can you tell us about how a grandparent can be involved in terms of using their tax refund for their grandchildren if that's what they choose?
Yeah, many parents of young children are really cash-strapped and maybe out of the workforce for extended periods of time. It's terrific if grandparents are in the position to be able to help their grandchildren. They could consider opening a family RESP plan. They can have multiple children and grandchildren as beneficiaries and, again, look to have the same benefits through the Canada Education Savings Grant that the parents would have access to.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Lots of fabulous advice, and we hope that parents have listened carefully and make some informed choices over the next few days and the next few weeks and years.
Thanks, Lianne. It's a topic that's important to me and my family, and I'm glad to be able to share it with yours.
Thanks a lot.